So, I'm not exactly sure when this happened, but I think it was somewhere around 2015, 2016, because I know that Star Wars was back with a new trilogy, and I had already seen the first one, maybe had seen Rogue One, and you're probably thinking, oh, I get it. He didn't like the new Star Wars, so he turned to Star Trek. And no, if you were thinking that, you would be wrong. What actually happened is I was so excited for Star Wars again. And to be honest, look, the trilogy, I felt, went downhill with each film. But there's a lot of other greater Star Wars universe stuff that I really enjoy. So it's not that I don't like Star Wars anymore. I absolutely love Star Wars. I'm loving The Mandalorian, The Bad Batch. I'm looking forward to everything that's coming out on Disney+. So, no. I did not give up on Star Wars and turn to the dark side. No. What happened was that I was so excited, and I was back in this geeky comic book, space travel, sci-fi mode that I haven't been in since I was a little kid. You know, I haven't been this excited about geeky stuff since I was a little kid. And it made me fall in love with all of that stuff that I loved back then as well. I actually started reading comic books again. Like, that's how nerdy I got. And still am. What else? I got more immersed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I even started reading Star Wars novels, something I never thought I would do, and dove into the Old Republic and the greater Star Wars universe stuff. And I was really anticipating more Star Wars. But I knew that I had a year or two to wait for the next film. So what I did is I decided, after all these years, of not watching Star Trek, of actually looking down on Star Trek, thinking it was not nearly as good as Star Wars. I thought it was boring. I thought it was lame. And as a Star Wars fan, I knew I wasn't supposed to like it. After all that, I gave Star Trek a chance. And I'm telling you, I felt like a traitor. I really did. And I know that's ridiculous, but I just really thought that if you were a hardcore Star Wars fan, you were not a Star Trek fan. And vice versa. So, I decided to watch Star Trek. I decided I would start with what was most familiar. That if there was the slightest chance of liking it at all, I should at least lean a little bit on nostalgia and try something that at least felt familiar. Something from my youth. So, when I was growing up, that show was Star Trek: The Next Generation. So, that's what I did. I started my Star Trek journey with Season 1, Episode 1 of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And you know what happened? I fell in love with it almost instantly. And at first, I was like kicking myself for not watching it before. Like, oh, how could you be so dumb? How could you not see this? How could you not give this a chance? But then what I realized is that, because I hadn't watched any iteration of Star Trek, now I have the entire Star Trek universe ahead of me. Seemingly endless hours of entertainment. And that's another thing. There was so much more Star Trek content than Star Wars. Like, with all the series through the years, there's just way more hours of Star Trek than there is Star Wars. So I'm like, how could I not have given this a chance earlier? Well, my friends, the floodgates were open. I made my way through TNG, and then I decided, you know what? Before moving forward, I'm a bit of a completionist. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go back and check out the original from the 1960s. So, same thing, season 1, episode 1, and I watched every single episode and loved it. Loved it. It didn't matter that the effects were lame. It didn't matter, I don't know. I just got immersed in it. Well, after that, I was ready to make my way through the series in order of release. So, next up was Deep Space Nine, another one from my childhood, but like the later part of my childhood. And that was incredible. Loved it. Followed that immediately with Voyager, and then I dove into Enterprise, the one with Scott Bakula. And that one actually, from the outside, looked really cheesy, and I didn't think I would enjoy it, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It's like a prequel, so supposedly happened before, the 1960s iteration of Star Wars. And I thought it was fantastic. Now, I still have a little ways to go. I'm currently watching Picard, which I'm enjoying. And then after I finish that, I'm going to dive into the most recent iteration, Discovery. So, anyway, that is my story of how I went from Star Wars fanboy, who believed he was supposed to hate Star Trek, to a man who is now obsessed with the Star Trek universe. And it's kind of ironic because, it's my love for all things Star Wars that actually led me to giving Star Trek a try. Anyway, I'd love to hear any of your stories about Star Trek or Star Wars fandom. Were any of you like me, where you loved one or the other, but thought you weren't supposed to like the other one, or you were supposed to hate the other one? Maybe you still feel that way. Maybe you want to tell me why one or the other sucks. Let me know. Comment below. I will respond. I love interacting about geeky pop culture stuff. So trust me, if you leave a comment, I will respond. All right. If you enjoyed this video or podcast, please give it a like. And if you want to hear more like this, subscribe to the channel. Mostly I do entertainment and pop culture stuff on this channel. I try to post something every day. Now, I'm not perfect, but I give it my damnedest. On top of that, though, I do talk about some other things, book reviews, stories from my questionable youth, all kinds of stuff. So if that's something you can vibe with, if you'd like to get something new and interesting in your feed every day, then please subscribe to the channel. And if you decide to subscribe or favorite or follow the podcast, then I will talk to you again tomorrow.